Roguelikes are a genre of game that I have never gotten into. It's nothing to do with the titles. I know that if I played many of them, I'd like them. It's simply always come down to the platforms that they release on. PC is a wonderful ecosystem with many different publishing houses and storefronts, so you can get many indie, AA and AAA roguelikes launching on PC that anyone can download or stream and play. But I don't own a PC. The last computer that I owned was a laptop, and that was back in 2013. Since that time, I've gone fully into the mobile Android ecosystem that roguelikes are a rare occurrence on, at best. The genre has found a wonderful home on the Nintendo Switch in more recent years, but I didn't come into possession of one of those until the tail end of 2020. And with a vast back catalogue to get into, and Switch games retaining their value even in the second-hand market, I simply haven't had the money to get round to them. So, most of my gaming has come either on Android or PlayStation, neither of which have seen many roguelikes in the past 5 years or so. At least, not many high-profile ones that have made themselves known to me. Then, at the announcement of the PS5 in mid-2020, suddenly PlayStation seemed to be getting two roguelikes. One that had me interested, and one that had me feeling meh. I was interested in Deathloop, and this was down to the studio being arcane, the style, and the fact that it had a strong story, at least from all of the wording beforehand. The one I was a tad uncaring about was Returnal. Returnal, however, would launch first, and as we approached said launch, the murmurs started growing in volume and praise. The last game that hadn't enamoured me until the week of launch, where reviews and discussions had changed my mind and made me want to partake in the game, was Ghost of Tsushima, one of my Game of the Year contenders for 2020. So, I bought Returnal, after launch, and most importantly, physically. The physical purchase is important. Even though I was intrigued and quietly confident that I would like it, following that Ghost of Tsushima pattern, I wasn't 100% sold, and dropping £65 on a game is a big ask. So I chose to protect my consumer rights. By purchasing physically, if it didn't live up to my expectation or was unsuitable for my lifestyle, as some outlets had said it could be, I then had 14 days to return the game and get my money back. An option unavailable when purchasing digitally from the PlayStation Store. Once then in receipt of the game, I booted it up and tried my first roguelike. Welcome everybody, my name is Doragon and this is my review of the PS5 exclusive Returnal. First off, there are a few things I should note about Returnal. Number 1. It should be played on a big screen with the highest resolution and frame rate that you have available. Number 2. It should be played directly on the system and not by remote play for a full next-generation experience. Number 3. It should be played with 3D audio-compatible headphones. Number 4. It is not a light-hearted game. Housemarque are a company that have really pushed the boundaries of what this crossover period between generations of gaming is. With every new generation, you tend to get a slew of games that release and implement the new console's features into their releases. But it isn't until a couple of years later that these features become integral to game development for the system, or forgotten as some form of gimmick, a la 6-axis motion control. With the release of Returnal, however, Housemarque have shown that things like haptic feedback, resistive triggers, and 3D audio aren't just a gimmick. Instead, they are the undisputed future of gaming, changing the way that you experience and play games forevermore. Your first experience of Returnal is a mechanical one. The story in this game isn't put in front of you. Instead, you have to advance through the game and earn said story. But even that isn't made apparent until a good chunk through the first biome. So, your initial impressions are all how this game feels. Unlike other reviews that I've done, however, Feel takes on a wider meaning with Returnal. Feel and sound are integral to how you play the game, thanks to the DualSense controller, 3D audio, and Housemarque's implementation of it. Let's start with movement. Yeah. Returnal's movement has ruined every other game for me right now. Buttons-wise, it's a fairly standard affair. Your sticks do the turning and movement and such. Thankfully, circle is dodge and not square like some studios insist on doing. X gives you a jump that lasts longer the longer you hold the button, and dodge will work while airborne. There is a speed and fluidity to the movement that just isn't repeated in any other game, even on the PlayStation 5 system, with only Warframe being in the same ballpark. The actual concept of movement is really easy to grasp, possibly because the controls are so standardized. Movement is your friend in this game. It's how you avoid damage, it's how you take on bosses, it's how you master the biomes and the powers that each new region gives you. But to get those montage moments where everything is going so right and so fluid takes time to master, and depending on your experience with roguelikes and recognizing patterns in gameplay, it can be a matter of trial and error and return, and return. Pretty much where the game gets its name from. It's not a simple system to master, and no small portion of that is down to the DualSense controller's feedback. As much as you see what is happening on screen, the controller makes you feel what is happening. Every jump, every trigger pull, every failed quick reload, every melee, every bit of damage, every secret, you feel it all through the haptics of the DualSense. Every bit of feedback is minute and unique, and it informs your play, but you have to be aware of it to move past basic movement. I had a moment where the game updated mid-run, and I lost haptics and sound during a boss battle. Despite still being able to see what was going on, losing those two methods of input, I was suddenly lost in my battle. I couldn't react to half of the attacks. I couldn't pinpoint the fast-moving enemy, and despite my own freedom of movement, I lost the fight solely because I couldn't feel the fight. Housemarque took something as simple as moving around the world or arena and changed it into something more, adding an additional level of intuition to the system while simultaneously raising the skill ceiling. They leveraged the power of the system and its peripherals to improve a base level action and turn it into a quintessential feature. Sound is a similar situation. Housemarque leveraged the 3D audio technology of the PS5 to give the world size and the encounters scope. While it is totally playable on TV speakers or a surround sound system, the best way to play this game is on wireless earphones. This way, the 3D audio comes into full effect, and yet again, this isn't a gimmick. The sound in headphones changes the game. Hearing an enemy above and behind you allows you to turn quickly and fight back, or survive in situations that would normally not be possible from sound alone. You can hear the location of a collectible and change your route to pick it up. Enemy attacks can come from any angle, and each one comes with a unique tell, tone, or incoming sound. When executed well, there is no way that anyone should be playing a 3D audio-enabled game on speakers or wired earphones. The 3D heightens, changes, and enhances the experience. When coupled with the haptic feedback and the resistive triggers, this no longer feels like a game that you are experiencing on a screen. You feel like you are part of it. You feel like you're in these biomes and doing the things that Celine is doing. It's a world of difference to anything else I have experienced, except maybe Astro's Playroom. But they are drastically different styles of game and create a different type of immersion. Thus far, I'd definitely say Returnal is the first of its kind. The biggest aspect of Returnal outside of movement and exploration is combat. I haven't been satisfied with gun combat in games for a while. Despite its faults, Destiny 2 still stands as a beacon of gunplay that other developers should aim for, and so many fall short of. Not Returnal though. While the system is different in nearly every way, it's easily as satisfying to use, and you know that any failure in gunplay is down to you, the player. As you progress through the game, you unlock many different archetypes of weapon. From your trusty pistol to launchers that can draw laser traps in areas, to a long-range machine gun and rocket launchers. There are more than enough weapon types to suit any playstyle, and depending on how your run is going, you may be forced into using a different gun and becoming proficient with it. The guns vary though. As you move through the biomes, not only do new archetypes become available, so do new perks. Some of these perks are available across differing weapon types, whereas others are unique to one particular gun. What this then creates is the Destiny or Diablo loot grind that is so satisfying. You search for the gun you want, then for the perks you want to get a god roll. These god rolls can make or break your run, and if you only find mediocre weapons, you either need to rely on your movement skills to succeed, or admit defeat and restart a run. Each gun also has 2 firing modes. Both are satisfying to use and offer tactical options in combat. If you press R2, you have standard fire. This can be more accurate by pressing L2 until you meet trigger resistance. Pull through that resistance though, and suddenly you're in alternative fire mode. This usually is used for burst damage or crowd control, at least from my playtime, and has a long cooldown denoted with an audio cue, so should be planned ahead of time for use on enemies. Another pointer to learning AI patterns. There's also a melee option, which is powerful, offering a risk and reward scenario. The closer you get, the harder it is to dodge attacks, meaning death and a restart is that bit closer. But the payoff is a swift end to the battle if you survive. All of the mechanics in this game have a place. There is nothing here simply because a quota of features needed to be met. It very much feels like if a mechanic was needed, it was added and honed to a fine point. If it wasn't needed, it was cast aside and forgotten about. So, it's the first proper next-gen title taking full advantage of all features of the PS5. It's something to behold and an experience to be part of. But is it any good? That's actually a question that's oddly hard to answer. Returnal knows what it is, and it's unapologetic about it. In a world where business people run game developers, to have something that knows itself, knows it won't appeal to the wide focus group demographics, and to not care about that, is so refreshing. But that does mean that it won't be a game for everyone. And that is perfect. I don't want every game to appeal to me. If they did, not only would I be missing so many experiences that I want to be part of because I wouldn't have the time, there'd also be massive demographics that never get anything that appeals to them. I'm not a fan of PvP. So annual CODs and battlefields with what I feel are shallow single-player experiences just don't interest me. I don't like Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy, but I'd never demand that those developers change those franchises to appeal to me. Those sort of games are not made for me, and that's fine. That's perfect. That variety keeps the world and life fresh and means that everyone can be catered to, just not by a one-size-fits-all type of game. Returnal, then, is not for your folk who want instant satisfaction and gratification. It's not for those who want an in-your-face story that requires no additional leg or brain work. Nor is it for those who think the homogenized open worlds of certain developers' franchises are somehow the greatest things on earth. Returnal is a part action-adventure, part murder mystery, and part third-person shooter-type game, all wrapped up in all the best tropes of a roguelike. You spend run after run of increasing length, learning, memorizing, and adjusting to new enemies, tools, mechanics, and ever-increasing what-do-heck moments where bullet hell only starts to explain what is happening in-game. This is a game for those who want a challenge, whether game or self-imposed, and it offers it in so many different ways. For me personally, it's great. It's satisfying balancing the pros and cons of parasites which you attach to yourself, and they give you a positive as well as a negative trait, meaning you can't just automatically pick them all up and benefit. There's a risk to picking up malignant items that can cause malfunctions of your suit. Sure, these malfunctions can then be repaired through gameplay challenges, but they heavily hinder you until they're removed. There's also the possibility that malignant items just benefit you, with no malfunction downside. So is it worth the risk of collecting them? Weapons come with better rolls and traits from higher level biomes, so create a risk-reward scenario when you change from biome 1 straight to 3, or 4 straight to 6 after every new death. Do you slog through each biome in order to gain the best advantages? Or power ahead and pray to RNGesus that you get something good? As fast-paced and fluid as Returnal is, if you are not thinking ahead for every action that you plan to take, the likelihood of failure increases exponentially. There is only so much of this game that you can complete by the seat of your pants and sheer dumb luck. The rest has to be meticulously planned and executed, even if that planning phase is only a second long. It demands intelligence, patience, and precision, and will punish the player if they fall short on any front. It has no difficulty settings or checkpoints, and no mid-run save feature, meaning every time you boot up the game, it's a do-or-die scenario. Returnal does not pander to the masses. It is made for a very specific type of gamer, one who wants a challenge and is willing to learn all aspects of a game's systems to succeed, and it does that exceptionally well. Just make sure that you are that sort of gamer when jumping into Returnal. Story-wise, it's kind of hard to get into this without spoilers, but that's why I have a script and many rewrites to make sure that I don't do that to you. The Returnal story is about discovery. When you start, you have literally no idea who the character is, why you are where you are, and the reasoning is revealed slowly as each new boss, biome, and visit home give you more detail about Celine and the situation. It's a tried and tested storytelling technique. Despite that though, it still feels fresh. It might be the interactive nature of video games, but a good story told in this manner in a game never feels overdone. Even after you beat all 6 biomes, the story is not over. The game works in 3 acts, and you have to complete all 3 acts to get the full story. You question pretty much everything as you go through, from who Celine is to how long she's been on the planet, through to whether you want to succeed as you question her morality. As you unlock more of her story and fill in the blanks, you feel like you have made these choices, experienced the many different lives and failures of Celine, and in its conclusion, question all that you have discovered. By the end of Act 3, there is still much that can be read into the story, and Reddit is alive with theories. I personally think that it's purposely left ambiguous so that it fills a need for you, the player, whatever that may be. Narratively then, I'd say it's brave, purposely different, and definitely not one for everyone. I, however, took a lot of joy from the discovery and revelations. Like every big release, there's a microscope over any niggle or problem with a game. In my time with Returnal, I encountered very few bugs, though the ones I did hit weren't anything that can just be brushed away. The worst was a trophy bug. I defeated Hyperion, and I achieved proficiency level 30 in the same run, but neither trophy popped. I had to then play back through the Hyperion boss days later to get the trophy, even though the game knew I had all of the trophies thereafter and couldn't have got them without defeating him. Level 30 should have been easy, but due to RNG and luck of the draw, it took over 10 additional runs to achieve that once again. I also encountered that drop of audio and haptics in a boss fight. It was a one-off as far as I'm aware, but an update shouldn't break the game while you are playing it, and it did ruin my run. There are dropped frames throughout the game, enough to notice with the naked eye, and they appear to happen when the next stage is loading. Hopefully, an upcoming stability patch will improve that scenario. Finally, I have moments where there is horrific lag from my controller input to what's happening on screen. Now, this has only happened in Returnal. It's not repeated in any other game, and has occurred 3 or 4 times in my 32 hours of gameplay. It may well be the beginning of the end for my DualSense, and it's been a coincidence that it's only transpired in Returnal. But it could also be the load on the system or a gap in the game's code. I'll keep tabs on it and update via a comment below if anything changes. Otherwise, this game runs great. There's no screen tearing or hard crashes, no soft crashes in my experience either. Resuming from rest mode is flawless, and outside of the moments where the controller is being odd, the game controls beautifully. These issues I encountered aren't game-breaking, nor do they ruin the overall experience, but they do annoy you as the player, especially if you've struggled with a boss fight to finally come out on top, and then have to do it all again just for the trophy. Compared to many other AAA launches in recent times though, a list of issues that you can count on one hand makes Returnal feel like a masterpiece in comparison. But does it fit into your life? Returnal earned a reputation just before launch, thanks to many of the reviews. It's too long and needs a mid-run save feature. I say, screw that. Returnal isn't ashamed of what it is, and it either demands your attention in the moment or many little stabs at the run from rest mode. This is a design feature of the game, and I do not feel that it should be undermined. But, in a real-world situation, I do feel there needs to be a mid-ground or slight compromise, especially on consoles that are shared within a household, such as mine is. My partner and I both use the PS5. We only have the one, and it's one of the main sources of entertainment in the household, especially as we'd gone back into lockdown in the UK just as we got it. What this means in terms of Returnal is that if I'm partway through a run, but come off to run the house or need a break and she then wants to play, my progress will disappear. And the same will happen the other way round. I don't think there should be a mid-run save per se, but an option to record or save your progress at the start of each new biome, especially on a shared console, would give you a natural jumping off point and allow you to rejoin the same run later, even if the game has been closed or played on a different profile in the meantime. Alternatively, Sony could step up and make the Switcher app on the system akin to Microsoft's Quick Resume, and we can then store our mid-run progress that way and switch back and forth. Returnal shouldn't undermine its identity and vision by adding a save feature, but something that would allow people to pick up from a more advanced point in a run, especially on a shared console, would elevate this game even higher. In terms of length, I'm coming at this having never really played any other roguelike, and I can say that the length, either of the entire 3-act arc or each individual run, was not a problem to me. Each biome can take anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour to complete, depending on how you approach it and what is generated for you on that particular occasion. When I got to Act 2, I took 2 stabs at Biome 4, and then it was a one and done for Biome 5 and Biome 6. My Act 2 playtime in total was 3 hours. 3 hours for 4 biomes and credits to roll. At no point did I think that that was too short or too long. It felt right, both for my evolving skill level at the time and my increasing arsenal and toolset. If you only have 30 minutes-ish to play a day, I can see how people may find it feels longer. But by that same token, I'm sure many of those people get a huge sense of satisfaction in beating a biome boss a few days later. It feels like you've really worked towards it and achieved something big in the game. I know that's how I felt with my hour-ish per day to play. It seems once again to be the curse of the reviewer, having to finish a game in a short turnaround that skews the idea of what short and long is in a video game, and how that fits into a real-world situation. For me, a man in his 30s with a Monday to Friday 9-to-5 job, Returnal was a perfect fit. Not too short, not too long. Achievable and challenging, it fit my wants, needs, and life quite well. So is this game a must-buy? No. That's nothing to do with the quality or content of the title. This game is highly polished and beautiful in every respect. It's a mechanical masterpiece and an engrossing experience like no other so far on the system. But it is also confident and self-assured. It doesn't need the adulation and praise of mass market appeal and sticks to its own philosophy throughout, even after the credits have rolled twice. Returnal is a game that won't be for everyone. But in an oxymoron-type moment, I do think it is a game that everyone should at least experience. I'd love to see Housemarque put a demo out on the PS Store. I feel that'd be the perfect testing ground for so many people, especially as this game, one that knows it won't be for everyone, comes in at the full next-gen price of £65 or $70. As things stand at this moment, borrow a copy if you can and are unsure on the title. Or check your country's consumer rights, and if possible, follow my example of buying the game physically with a 14-day return option if you aren't satisfied. Who knows? You may yet find that this game is for you despite any reservations, and Returnal keeps calling back to play again, and again, and again, and again, and again. Just as it did with me. In the meantime, guys, I would like to thank you all very much for tuning in. Normal drill, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, it helps the channel out massively. You can also hit the bell for notifications of when new content goes live, and follow me on the socials from the links in the description down below. Otherwise, your viewership is very much appreciated, and until next time guys, have yourselves a fantastic day, and take care.